next speakers, I think, are bringing their own chairs. This is going to be a sort of fireside chat moment. We have Gesine Juncker, Jonathan Ring. Gesine is WWP's, Weston Williamson's master planning lead of global portfolio projects. Jonathan with Cella is leading currently the development at Paddington. They are going to talk about the subject of unlocking land value by providing infrastructure when the furniture is arranged. Please welcome Gesine and Jonathan. I shall be interrupting as we go along.
We're just switching over the presentation. We'll start in a sec.
There you go.
Here we go. Yes. So here we are. I'm Gesine Juncker from Weston Williamson Partners. We focus on transport infrastructure and master planning, so transport-orientated communities. Jonathan?
For those of you who don't know who Cella are, we're probably best known for developing the Shard above London Bridge Station, and I've also got a picture here of our more recent project at Paddington Square. So initially to kick off, I thought I'd put a couple of examples of where we have been working on projects and how we've made transport improvements through the works that we're doing. I was involved in the Crossrail OSD programme, and I thought this would be a good example, which is up on the screen, which is 65 Davis Street above Bond Street Station, where the land was acquired under CPO. A development agreement was then done with the previous landowner to unlock the development potential above, and a collaboration was put forward for a new scheme there you can see designed by PLP, which is now fully let and has achieved some of the highest rents in the West End in London, right above the Crossrail station, and has contributed with this and about 12 other key Crossrail sites to about £500 million funding that went back towards Crossrail infrastructure works. Talking about a more recent project that we're working on, this is Liverpool Street Station proposals that's currently in for planning with the City of London. This is where we are looking to upgrade the station concourse, provide step-free access and increase capacity to the station, which is currently significantly over capacity. And the value of this has been unlocked by combining neighbouring land ownerships together with providing an overstation development, in this case 10 stories of offices and 6 stories of hotel use that sits above the station, unlocking about £450 million of investment into the station infrastructure, so that this project can be delivered with no cost to the taxpayer.
So yeah, going back again to Crossrail, I think Crossrail is really an interesting project because it's one that has been delivered, it has delivered value, it has unlocked development. And the Woolwich station was an interesting one because there was no station planned in the original business case, so it didn't actually stack up for the particular purpose for Crossrail, which was mainly around sort of connecting employment hubs, and Woolwich wasn't one of those. But it was running beneath it, and Berkeley Homes happened to have a good chunk of land very close to the alignment. So this was really an area where a landowner and developer, the local authority, had come together and really lobby all organizations to say, look, we can really build a station here and unlock more homes. It worked because there was a very clear leadership and there was a strong political will to make it happen, which then allowed the alignment actually to change, and Berkeley's Home having sort of the knowledge and wealth of experience and also the ability to take the risk to actually put upfront investment to see, can we move those tunnels, what is in there for Crossrail? If we deliver a box, they could save some money on some shafts, we can deliver those homes. And this really how it came together to make it happen, and sort of you see the station now and you think, like, how did that work? But it was really unlocked by having that landowner who could bring in the funds and the political will that was supported by it. And then with Crossrail, I mean, while it's amazing now, it had its challenges, and not all of the, say, value capture from the OSD was really realized. And there were some real lessons learned from Crossrail. which then influenced on how Crossrail 2 was thought about and developed. One of the areas was don't make your work sites too small. Give yourself a little bit of wriggle room. That not just de-risks the delivery, also gives you more opportunity then to give a good integration and a good development afterwards. And think about development early. I mean, the business case for Crossrail 2 was slightly different predicated. It was less about employment, it was really about unlocking homes and working with local authorities early on to build that supportive planning framework that then can unlock those homes and those wider regeneration benefits. And with Crossrail, maybe some of the development could have been taller, but local authorities weren't really prepared for it. That was one of the lessons. And then Crossrail 2 was really focusing around getting that positive planning and investment environment straight at the beginning of the business case. So it's not an afterthought that you had to deliver later.
And in our discussions, we've come across a lot of similar issues and a lot of these projects. And I thought I'd just flag some of the key issues on the most recent project I've delivered, which is this one, Paddington Square, which if any of you go through Paddington Station at the moment is just outside Span 4. But there's 1.35 acres of new public realm. We're delivering a new Bakerloo line ticket hall with step-free access to the Bakerloo line, which it's never had before. And to fund that, we've delivered 350,000 square foot of Grade A offices, which were all pre-let during COVID. And there's about 45 retail units that are being delivered and will be opening shortly. And all of these have helped upgrade, all of these have been funded by the private developments that we've been running as either Section 106 agreements or development agreements with TfL and Network Rail. And there were various projects we also funded within Paddington Station where we've worked on some similar projects together. If you go on to the next one, I just thought I'd summarise some of the key sort of challenges and issues that we've had on some of these projects where you go through. So from my point of view, timescales are always a challenge on these. You've got very different bodies, all working at different timescales, all to different speeds. And it inevitably means there's interfaces that don't work, because things are being designed at different speeds, different people have different priorities, different political environments, and so on. The second point I'd bring out is the regulatory regimes, which is often the bane of my life delivering some of these projects, because you're working to TfL standards, you're working to Network Rail standards, you're working to building control and local authority standards, and they conflict a lot. And in a project like this, if you can see in the 3D environment, there's lots of interfaces. And so a collaborative approach is needed by everybody. And we're very lucky having a number of key stakeholders here who are very keen to work together for the overall vision and the overall approach, because there was a massive problem in this area of London. There's a lot of social deprivation. It was the gateway to the UK for a lot of people coming in from Heathrow. This would be their first environment coming off the train into London, and it was a very poor environment. And now, you know, we're opening it up, and shortly the tube station will be opening this summer, and it'll be a very, very different environment. I just put a last point on here, and I'm sure you'd agree on this. My focus on a lot of these projects from early days is always trying to take out complexity where you can. These projects are so complex in a lot of environments, so many different elements to bring together. So I sometimes feel that there is unnecessary complexity at the beginning, and simplify these things, make them much more deliverable. And you know, a lot of these big complex projects are very hard to bring into the delivery phase. But ironing out complexity as far as it's possible in the early days is always an advantage.
Yeah, that's the end of our presentation.
Thank you very much indeed. I wasn't expecting such abrupt stop.
We can carry on chatting.
Do we have a question from the audience, please? Okay, here we go, improvising. So, my question is, how much is this top-down and how much is there the possibility for bottom-up? I think too often there's a hard line in central London between new developments and communities around it. And we talk about the statistics of economics and the commercial realities of the development. But how much is there an opportunity for genuine engagement with local schools, local residents, and so on and so forth? And how much is that stymied by the structure of the thing and simply because of the complexities involved that you mentioned, Jonathan?
I'll probably talk about Paddington as an example on that, and I'm not sure it's one or the other. I think it's both in that regard. I think, and those who know the planning history of Paddington Square with Renzo Piano, it was originally a residential scheme, but there was local opposition from residents on that. And there was a sufficient density required to be able to do the upgrades to the transport infrastructure to do that, and part of the reason why it was such a tall residential tower in the original scope. But we worked with local residents and local support groups to come up with a new scheme, which is the commercially led scheme, which is now being developed. But I think, and the trick we often find ourselves in is you're working between lots of different competing environments. So you've got the wants and the needs of the local communities, the local businesses, the transport lobby groups, and various other guys, and you need to bring them all together to get an optimal solution. You won't get everything everybody wants all the time, but now we're in the delivery phase and coming out, and the retail should be opening shortly in Paddington Square, rather than people asking about problems, about the new design, about construction issues. People are excited about the new environment, the new restaurant that's going to be opening on the top floor. And the transport bodies are bringing and implementing and testing, commissioning all of the materials. So I think it works together, but you have to, and what's been very good, you have to have really strong leadership from all of the different stakeholders to stick to the vision, because there are things that go wrong, there are challenges, there are compromises that have to be made along the way, and you can't get everything everybody wants. But you can, if all parties are willing to compromise and stick with a vision, deliver fantastic upgrades in environments like this.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. I'd be very interested in your additional thoughts, Cassini.
Sorry?
On the original question, your thoughts on top-down versus bottom-up.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I was listening to Jonathan and then he said leadership, and I was like, ooh, he just stole my point. No, it's so important, and it is really, and I think, it was mentioned in talks before, is around do you have the right vision, and do you have the, HS2 example was given, is are you telling the right story? What is your objective you want to deliver? Working out what the objective is, that is sort of the first step you need to do, and then you need leadership to carry that through. And people say, oh, what about the community? Well, there is not one community. There's communities, and they have different aspirations, different needs. And we often listen to actually a very small group of people who have the ability and the resources to be the loudest. But these are not the ones who are actually mainly impacted by the lack of investment that's happening. And I want to much more turn that story around. It's about the people who do not have the homes. It's the young people. It's their future, what we're developing to. And it takes some courage to say that, because obviously we want to respect all voices. But it needs that clarity of messaging, and it needs the joint up thinking and honesty between different parties. So from a political leadership, from representatives through the public authorities to investors, to, okay, we need to have a transparent conversation, what's the art of the possible here, and not sort of hiding away or just sort of constantly selling your own agenda, then it's never going to happen, it's not going to work.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the audience? If not, perhaps we'll pause there to say thank you very much to Cassini and to Jonathan, and I'm sure they'll be available if you think of any taxing questions during the rest of the afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.